What are some of the biggest misconceptions that buyers have when they are going to buy a house? Do you want to know what they are? Well, today I want to tell you about the 5 things that are potentially going to cost you the home of your dreams in 2025. Have you been sitting on the fence this past year wondering what to do about the real estate market? Interest rates are up. You need to move, but you aren't sure if it's the right time to buy. Now we've had an election. That guy's back, and interest rates still haven't budged. So what is a home buyer to do? Well, today I think we should talk about the real estate market shifts throughout the year here in the DC metro area first. And along the way, I'm going to dispel some of the fallacies that buyers have when entering the market. The information is going to serve many of my incoming spring clients well. So hopefully it will also be a great help to you too if you're in another market or another area. Misconception number 1. There are more houses for sale in the spring. Why don't I just wait until then? Yes, you and everybody else are thinking this. Buyers approach the spring market with high hopes, and they can quickly be destroyed. So we should first talk about seasonality. Every season brings its own variety of crazy to the real estate market in the DC area. We have the infamous spring market, which everybody believes is the best time to look for homes. School year is soon winding down, so the kiddos won't be disrupted with change. And most people believe, and it does prove to be true, that the most houses for sale are in the spring. And I will typically sell 80 to 85% of my whole annual sales in the first half of the year. So how does the spring market unfold? Well, here's what happens. In January and February, the eager beavers are out there. They've been waiting for months. They have a lot of pent-up demand. They are saying, this is it. I've got to get out there and I've got to buy a home. So initially, you will see a lot of demand on the homes that are initially listed. But that's not what's happening for the sellers. They're still finishing up holidays, wrapping that stuff up, getting their house cleaned up, and now they're sort of prepping. So you'll see some homes trickle on the market, just a few here and there, and then it feels like this flood of buyers that are going after those homes. By February, when we're post Super Bowl and then the weather starts to get warmer, maybe in March, that's when you're going to start to see more homes listed and more buyers are out there. Now, in the DC metro area, Memorial Day at the end of May is kind of like our unofficial start of summer here. This is when half of the buyers from spring are gone. Some of them have bought homes, others got burned out, and the rest decided, I'm just going to go enjoy my summer vacation. I've kind of had it. So for those who remain in the market, though, it is strong in the DMV well through July. Then it is very quiet in August. Not much is listed, but it's actually a really good time to buy a home. In fact, I'm going to call August as the second best time to buy a home in this area. Fall is a very short market. September and October are when homes will be listed again, but it's nothing like the volume that you're going to have experienced in the spring. It does start to slow down by Halloween, but you're still going to see a few homes that get listed in November before it kind of all comes to a screeching halt. There's usually 1 or 2 homes that might work for you that would be listed between mid-November and mid-December, oddly. Like I've seen a few come up, and those are really the sellers that are kind of facing the whole, do I want to wait another 2 months for the market to hit in the spring, or do I just want to get this done and maybe sell before the end of the year? This, my friends, this is the magical best time to buy a home. November and December. There's practically no competition, and you have a captive seller who is motivated to sell. They realize that if they don't sell right now, they might be hanging onto their house for another 2 months of, mortgage payments and all of that. And if they've already moved, that's not a palatable option for them. After the holidays, we're back at the new year, which is basically spring. So once you lay it out like that, it's kind of a sobering reality on exactly how short the opportunities are during the regular year to lock down a home. Misconception number 2 is when people say, I'll just wait for the interest rates to come down. Do you even hear yourself? You do not want to wait for the interest rates to come down, because just like with waiting for more houses to hit the market in spring, guess what? You're not the only one with this idea. When the rates come down and the cost of ownership comes down, demand is going to go up and there's going to be more people out there looking. If I could draw my supply and demand curves, I would. Demand goes up, supply goes down. Anyway, the housing shortage is all over the news. Estimates indicate that the United States is in a deficit of somewhere between 2.8 million houses and 4.5 million houses. That's a lot of houses. And that means that there are more buyers trying to get into them. So what you should do is think about getting into a house when your competition can't stomach buying at the high interest rates. So rates will come down again. We've talked about this a lot. It's actually okay. Go ahead. You might have an uncomfortable 6 months or a year. You might have to tighten the belt, but what'll happen is when the rates come down, you're going to watch your equity go ching, 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 because the prices of all the houses are going to start to go up. Misconception number 3. This house checks most, but not all of the boxes. Let's keep looking. All right, guys, do you know who our number one employer is here? It's a little something you might have heard of called the federal government. And all the employees of the government, the related agencies and contractors, need places to live. Finding a home in Maryland, Virginia suburbs of DC can be extremely difficult, especially if you're not realistic about the market. Being realistic about our market conditions is very difficult if you are moving here from somewhere else. And I've gone through this with a lot of people because I get a lot of people who relocate from other areas, and we definitely have a learning curve we have to go through when you guys move here. This trial by fire situation where people are thrown into it and then they realize how crazy the market is, it's really difficult to comprehend for people. So I'll hold your hand through it, but you're not gonna get a 10 out of 10 on a house. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't even really happen with new construction here. Your goal is to get the best house that works for you and your family for at least 5 years. That house means, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably going to be a 7 or 8. I wish the news were better, but the alternative is to rent, which is also fine if that's what you decide. But at $3,000 a month, sometimes $4,000 to $5,000 for houses, $3,000 is a small house. So it can go up to 4 and 5 pretty quickly if you need a few bedrooms or larger house or a yard. You know, you're going to pay between $160,000 to $200,000 over the next 4 years of somebody else's mortgage. And if that's okay for you, all good. You can see yourself out. We're done here. But by the time most people contact me, they've already decided that that's actually not okay with them, which is why we have to focus on getting you the best house we can. But I'm sorry, it's not going to be a 10 out of 10 here. It just rarely happens. So misconception number 4, it's been on the market for a while. Can I write an offer below list price? All right, so like T.I. says in the song, whatever you like. If you are a parent, you probably have a hard time watching your kid make a decision that you know they're going to regret. Usually, though, with kid decisions, they can be corrected because they're not catastrophic. Usually, they're not catastrophic. As your real estate advisor, I have such a hard time watching somebody play around with a house that clearly has their name written all over it. And no, that is not because I'm sitting there calculating my commission on the side. I'm actually foreseeing the future. The future where you're like that forlorn ex comparing every house to the one that got away. I will tell them that there's currently no other offers, but that can change at any second. And I've seen that happen with several clients in the it's amazing how it just turns on a dime. So I never want my clients to feel like I'm not helping them negotiate, but we just don't live in a market right now of negotiation, kind of even no matter what happens. It's the sellers have had the upper hand here for over a decade. And I've learned that some of you don't realize when you're making a decision that you're probably going to regret. And I am very good at pointing it out. I will say, I have a feeling that this is going to be the one that you say we should have fought a little harder for. And it is just really hard when I know that you're putting a hurdle in your offer that's going to render your bid the losing bid. Do you know how sad it is to get that call from you guys? My clients asking me to call the listing agent to say, can you please let us know if anything falls through? Because in most cases, things don't fall through. And in each case, my clients felt like they lost that house that should have been theirs. And honestly, that sucks. So misconception number 5, when buyers say, I'm going to use a VA or FHA loan. This is the worst news for most buyers who move to the DC area from somewhere else in the country. It is really rare here, though, to get a VA or FHA offer accepted. I've had people say, well, we looked up the seller and they bought with a VA loan, so we're hoping that they'll feel the camaraderie with us. No, I mean, everybody goes for the cold hard cash. Nobody goes for the emotions. Now, you're probably saying, what do you mean by the cold hard cash? Because a loan is a loan is a loan. Well, we have to talk about this. Why does the listing agent encourage the seller to take conventional financing over VA? Because VA loans have a built-in contingency system that protect the veteran from losing their earnest money deposit in the event of a loan denial or an appraisal coming in under value. In a multiple offer situation, a seller will always prefer to take an offer where there's no contingencies to protect the buyer. The VA buyer can't waive the contingency like a conventional buyer can, and often in this market, conventional buyers will. Couple that with the conventional buyer having a high down payment and a high earnest money deposit, which the VA buyer doesn't have to do. They don't have to come in with any money. They don't have to have a deposit. They don't have to show any of that. It's very difficult to get an offer accepted because of those reasons with VA and FHA financing. Another reason VA home loans are tougher to get accepted is because of the home appraisal requirements. Conventional financing, they can sometimes be offered a waiver, which is essentially if especially if the buyer has a very high down payment, but if the value's there on property, like let's say you have a contract for a house that's, $750,000, but everything in the neighborhood's selling for $850, they can look at that on paper. If you're going in with $200,000 down, they're like, look, our risk here is the $750 purchase price less what the buyer's putting in. So we're only giving them a loan for $550. We know the houses are worth $850. We're good. We probably don't have to do an appraisal. VA home appraisals, they're not eligible for that waiver. Additionally, the veteran home appraisals have strict requirements to protect the veteran. They may require repairs to the home that the conventional loan wouldn't. One of the most common ones that comes up is requiring a handrail down a staircase or a front walk-up. Very, very common condition. One other thing is that VA loans also have longer closing times. Conventional loans can close sometimes in 2 weeks. VA loans, it's just all dependent on the appraiser. And when the appraiser gets a couple orders and they see one's VA, they know I've got time. I'm putting this on the back burner and I'm going to do my conventional loans first because they have a quicker deadline and turnaround time. All right. Those are the 5 buyer misconceptions going into 2025 that are going to cost you your dream home if you go any of these routes. So if you have any questions, my contact info is coming next.